All right, here we are. It is another Sunday Night Live. It is Sunday, July 14th, 2024. Coming at you on oh my gosh, what a beautiful day. So I'm going to give it a few minutes and let you guys get jumping in here. Let me go ahead and share this out. And when you come on in, if you would please give it a thumbs up. If you're new on the channel, go ahead and subscribe and share this out, please. We're trying to get this message out to as many people as we can. So tonight we're talking about dehydration, inflammation, and detoxification. And I know that's a lot. And we talked about inflammation a few months ago, but it um, definitely is worth talking about again, especially in the context of with dehydration and detoxification. So let's see where I'm going here. Discard there. So it's important to know the process that everything goes through, and let's see where we go here. Analytics. I want to view on YouTube. Okay. Hey, Laura, how are you? Nice to see you this evening. In your neck of the woods. Shared out here. Oh, and that. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so like I say, if you're coming on in, just go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Um, let's see, connection. Boy, this is crazy. I know last week I jumped in here and I was outside. I hope this does not disrupt things here. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Sorry, my computer was picking up the wrong Wi-Fi network in my house. So there, that should be better. Okay, signal should be better. There we go. Yeah, last week I was outside on the back deck, connected to my back deck Wi-Fi. I still had an unstable signal, and I was on my laptop. So I thought I'm just going to come inside today and talk to you guys from here, so I can get all of that fixed. So, hey, great. All right, go ahead and share that out. Give it a thumbs up, and we will get rolling. 6:03. I know a few people will go ahead and excuse me, make their way in. Okay, so we're gonna talking about dehydration, inflammation, and detoxification. And I think we need to talk about it in that order in order for you to have an understanding of how it all affects you and your health. So let's first talk about dehydration. And sorry, still have that little residual cough when I start talking. So dehydration is when you don't have enough water, fluid inside your body, and it's not just that, but it's when you don't have enough fluid inside your cells. So if you think about your cells, they should be plump like grapes. And if they are dehydrated, they will get shriveled up like raisins. So when you're dehydrated, there are so many things that can go south with your health. And it can cause, things from the simplest things like headache, digestive issues, joint pains. It affects gut function. So oftentimes I have people who don't have regular bowel movements, and they only have bowel movements every 2, 3, or 4 days, and they just full on admit they don't drink enough water, or they hardly drink water, or they'll say, "Oh, I drink about 2 8-ounce glasses a day," and that's not enough. If you're not drinking water, it's not going to flush those through you. The other common, comment that I get is, "How can I be dehydrated? I drink so much water." So let's talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about the things that cause dehydration. Audio is shaky. Okay, hold on. How about that? Is that better? Just turned up the gain there. Um, is that better, Laura? Give me a thumbs up on that one. And I moved a little closer to the microphone. So great. Okay. I didn't have it turned up far enough on my end. Whoopsie. Sorry. Okay. Should probably check all my controls before I go live. Um, okay, let me repeat that. So when you're dehydrated, your cells should be plump like grapes, and when you're dehydrated, they get shriveled up like raisins. Everything in your body, from your hormone production to your genetic layout, meaning your how does your thyroid function? How does your brain function? What are all of the ways that your body needs to be productive on a daily basis, from absorbing nutrients to flushing nutrients to flushing out toxins? All of that is really coming from the cell. And when the cell is dehydrated and shriveled up like a raisin, you're not gonna get the best production out of your cells and hence your body. Hey, P squared, nice to see you here. Give that thumbs up button a hit for me, please. We are talking dehydration, inflammation, and detoxification. So we're starting with the dehydration piece. And what causes dehydration? We have to go there. So I'm just gonna run down the list of things that you could be doing that cause dehydration. And also, Happy Mac, welcome in. Before I go down that list, if you are someone who's saying to me, "How can I possibly be dehydrated? I drink so much water. I drink a ton of water." I get this so commonly, and so many of my patients are actually massively dehydrated, but inflamed all at once, and I'll tell you how that happens too. So, let's talk about the things that actually create dehydration. So, the obvious things are just not drinking enough water. Your body requires water and hydration in the form of water to function on a daily basis. Those cells rely on you putting enough fluid inside your body. I shouldn't say fluid, water, because there are other fluids that you could be drinking that are causing more dehydration. So the simple act of not drinking enough water can cause dehydration. Then we have other things like caffeine. So we all get up in the morning, we have a couple of cups of coffee. Caffeine is a natural diuretic. Even if you're having green tea has natural caffeine in it, and it also is a natural diuretic, meaning it's going to flush water out of you. There are times when we might want to flush water, but in the grand scheme of things, we're trying to preserve our water. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So, two big keys, not drinking enough and drinking, caffeine. Then as we start to go through the day, maybe we start to have toxic elements in our diet. So if we're drinking or if we're eating or drinking foods that contain sugar, if you're having other drinks that contain alcohol or other toxic chemicals. So let's say you're someone who you're working outside all day and you say, "Well, I'm gonna grab a Gatorade because I wanna stay hydrated." But Gatorade is actually really, it's terrible for you. It has a lot of toxic chemicals. It has artificial sweeteners, flavors, and colors. It has flame retardant in it, and so it's not doing anything for you. It has synthetic, minerals in it. So sorry, guys. Um, bear with me still. It has synthetic minerals in it, and so you're better off actually just taking a pinch of really high quality sea salt and putting it in your water every day. That's way better than drinking an I'm gonna say an electrolyte drink like Gatorade or Powerade or any of those fancy liquids. You wanna avoid those at all costs because those are actually going to cause they're gonna cause water retention, so they're gonna cause inflammation, um, but then they're gonna cause dehydration of the cell. And I'm gonna explain that because 'cause you're probably like, "Wait, how can that be? How can I be inflamed and dehydrated all at the same time?" And most people are. So it's really quite the phenomenon. Yes, flame retardant in Gatorade, Laura. It is, let's see, Gatorade ingredients. I actually did there's a video on my YouTube channel about that. I did that last year. Let's see. And they call it a thirst quencher. Brominated vegetable oil is the stabilizer, and I think that is the flame retardant ingredient. Sucrose, monopotassium phosphate, flavoring, coloring agent. It doesn't really wanna give me the whole, let's see, list of ingredients in Gatorade. Um, yeah, yeah. Go I can't find it right off the top of my head here, so go ahead and just do a search on my YouTube channel, you'll get it. But the stuff is gross, and so they'll put artificial sweeteners in it, they'll put multiple artificial sweeteners, and they'll add sugars, different forms of sugars. They're really trying to cater to the American palate and really up that the sweetener. So they wanna make you addicted to the sugar. So, I don't know, sorry. So so sugars, toxic elements, anything that is, toxic to your body. So let's say, not only the sugars, but then we can talk about highly processed foods. So ingredients that your body doesn't like. Let's say you have a gluten intolerance or a dairy intolerance. Let's say you don't know you have a food allergy or a food sensitivity, and your body really responds to that. And one of the examples that I'll give you is that if you are someone who has the bumps on the back of your arms, that is that's usually dairy. That's usually a dairy sensitivity. People will say, "I've had that all my life." Yeah, you've had a food sensitivity your whole life. So, you gotta do an elimination, you have to do major gut repair, especially if you've had it a long time. Also, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I gave up, let's just say dairy, and they didn't go away." Yeah, you've had it your whole life, like, there's a whole layering effect that needs to take place in order for those to go away, and it's not gonna be a 2-week dairy elimination, even a 3-month. You need a whole process. So, so toxic elements in your food, toxic elements in the drinks that you might be having, toxic ingredients in your skincare, your shampoos, your conditioners, any toxins that you are taking into your body, which we are all doing every single day in variable amounts, some people more, some people less, but there's toxins in our air. There's toxins everywhere. We cannot get away from it. So, I really do encourage you to manage your own environment the best you possibly can because the toxins are gonna get you. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're going to get you. So, so I really encourage you to make sure that you are minding your own house, literally your physical house, your house, if you're using pesticides outside. So you get the idea is that all of these toxic elements go into the body and they will cause dehydration. Now, how do they cause dehydration? Right? The obvious ones that I talked about in the beginning, not drinking enough water, drinking, caffeine, and not even too much caffeine, but let's say it's just 2 cups of coffee, that's still a diuretic. Let's say it's, a Coke or, any kind of caffeinated beverage or any kind of, beverage that has a lot of sugar in it, hidden caffeine ingredients there, they'll hide it in there. Um, green tea extract, we'll put that in there. So, so those kinds of things, they cause you to be dehydrated. So if you're going beyond 2 cups of coffee a day, which I would say 8 ounces really is about the limit for coffee. You really don't need much more than that. If you do, you're really blocking your adrenal gland, which provide you energy. So that becomes the conundrum. The energy. So you're because 'cause you're not sleeping well, so you're drinking caffeine, you're need to keep the cursor right on the mute button so I don't cough in the microphone, it's annoying. Sorry, guys. So, um, where was I going with that? Um, okay, moving on. So you get the idea. The more toxins you have in your body, the more your body is going to be dehydrated. So how does that work? When and I'm gonna jump to the detoxification piece first. So we're gonna go to item number 3. So how does your body detoxify all of these? And then how is it inflamed? We'll get there. So the way your body detoxifies is there are 3 phases of detoxification. 2 of them occur in the liver, and they're just very simply called phase 1 and phase 2 of liver detoxification. So you're exposed to all of these toxic ingredients. Your body needs to get rid of it somehow, and so the toxic elements will come in through the liver. I'm getting there. Toxic I need to detox. Toxic ingredients will come in through the liver. Phase 1 of liver detoxification is it inactivates that toxic element. We'll call it blood sugar. It could be blood sugar, it could be Roundup, it could be anything. It could be an artificial sweetener, flavor, color, any kind of toxic element. It comes in, and the liver has to deactivate it. And what does that mean? It means that if the liver allowed all these toxic ingredients to just go through the liver, it it'd kill us. So this is a defense mechanism for our body. This is how we safely get rid of these toxic elements so they don't kill us. So that element comes in, the, um, the liver deactivates it, and that's phase 1. Phase 1 is really, really fast. So because toxins are coming in at a very high rate, and then it shuttles everything over into phase 2. And phase 2 is really slow or much slower than so in phase 2 is responsible for putting a water molecule on top of that inactivated toxic element so that it can go to phase 3, which is your kidney, and you can get rid of it. So, then you can also poop it out too. So think about that. Now remember this. Phase 2, we need water, we need fluid to encapsulate that toxic element so that we can get it over into the kidney to get it flushed out, okay? So that's our detoxification pathway. Now, because phase 2 is so slow, it can't keep up with phase 1, and oftentimes for long-term storage, again, it can't just dump it out of the body. So long-term storage, it will take those toxic elements and put them into fat tissue. Okay, so this is why we gain weight. As you know, as we get older, we gain weight. That's a natural phenomenon. I will say I should say it's a common phenomenon because metabolically we slow down, but physically we also slow down. So we need to keep up with that movement. Okay, that's probably a whole nother podcast. So what we need to be doing is uh, continuing to just continue to move because these toxins are gonna get stored in our fat tissue. That's also a reason that a lot of people are like, "I don't know why I can't lose weight." Well, because you're highly toxic, and it really does become a degree of your level of toxicity for your inability to lose weight, and that feeds into also crazy hormones. My hormones are out of whack. I've got an autoimmune issue. I can't get my gut in check. I've got these chronic headaches. I've got eczema. I have chronic joint pain. I'm not sleeping well. I have brain fog. I've got anxiety. I have depression. All of these things are from dysregulation, from either inflammation, dehydration, or detoxification, and inability to detoxify. So we really have to work with our body system to help it detoxify better. So we've got this phenomenon going on. Well, when the body has too many toxins in it, and so we just talked about the fact that it's going to shuttle into fat tissue. But in the meantime, it's looking for water to encapsulate around that element, that toxic element to get out. So you've got your water in your cells, which again, your cells should be pumped up like grapes, right? And then there's fluid on the outside of those cells. So it's going to take from the fluid on the outside of the cells and it's going to bind there. But here's what happens. When you're overly toxic, and again, most of us are, the body is going to find water wherever it can get it. So it starts to rob it from inside the cell. And then the cell starts to shrivel up and become more like a raisin. And so what ends up happening, and when I do body composition testing on people, I see this all the time. It's the most amazing factor is that you're dehydrated inside the cell and you're inflamed on the outside of the cell. And I can calculate that to the pound. So oftentimes I'll look at where somebody should be and I'll say, okay, here's where your normal range is for the amount of total fluid you should have in your body. And you are 10 pounds over that. So you've got 10 extra pounds of fluid. And if you think about inflammation and the impact that it has on your health, 10 extra pounds, that's a lot. It's a lot on your cardiovascular system, your heart, your lungs, your organs, your brain. And now this excess inflammatory fluid is carrying around all these toxins. So again, we've got brain fog. It's going to disrupt our sleep. It's going to affect how we think. It's going to affect how we feel. We're going to get more joint pain. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I've got a ton of joint pain. I probably have arthritis." You're probably just inflamed. You are probably just so inflamed. But then they'll say, "Oh, my mom had arthritis. My father had arthritis." You were probably just inflamed. Now, if it's rheumatoid, which is an autoimmune issue, it's a whole 'nother animal. That's inflammation causing an autoimmune issue, and the inflammation could be coming from chemical, uh, chemical sensitivity or chemical allergies, food sensitivity, any of those things. So, again, paying attention to where you're at so that we can start to turn this ship around. Alright, so now we've established. Now what do you guys think of that? Like, did you realize that you could be inflamed and dehydrated all at the same time? And a lot of times, when I'm working with people, what I wanna be able to do is do their body composition test and then do some nutritional intervention. We, take you through a course, and maybe in 2 weeks after we first start, we test that body composition because I wanna see, are you dumping off the excess fluid, and is fluid moving back into the cell? And I can see that on this body comp test. It's the coolest thing. And people start to feel better when you can get the fluid back into the cell and know that you're dumping off the excess fluid that contains all of these toxic elements. Why wouldn't you feel better? And we start to get the bowels moving. If when the bowels are moving, you're holding on to less toxicity. That's all that shit is supposed to be getting out of your body. And if it's not, it's all getting recirculated. So it's causing even more inflammation on the outside of the cell and more dehydration on the inside of the cell. So, and Laura, if with your leg cramps, so leg cramps are also, I'm glad you mentioned that because leg cramps also can be dehydration, but it can be also mineral loss. So, or mineral deficiency. So you gotta get the right minerals, and it can also be I don't know if you're on any medications or not, but medications 100% cause nutritional deficiency. So if you are on any medications, you might wanna look and see what kind of mineral deficiencies those cause, and then make sure you're taking the proper nutrients to, um, to bring that back up to sufficient levels so that you're not getting such impact from the medication. Um, Sorry, just got a house full of teenagers. Yeah, so the leg cramps could be overall hydration, it could be mineral deficiency, it can be caused from medications. So you just need to figure out which element could be affecting yours, and and it could be all three, right? So too much caffeine causing too much dehydration. Um, Happy Max says, "This is a great comment. If I eat a low carb diet, I lose a ton of um, and you're probably retained fluid. I need to stay away from so much sugar." Yes. This is actually really common. A lot of my patients, I actually will put them on a low carb, high protein food plan because a lot of the carbs, if we can focus on protein and make sure we're getting enough protein, you won't eat as many carbohydrates. And the carbs are, we tend to get a lot of those through the highly processed foods. So, a little bit of rice is fine, some potatoes, that's fine. I usually recommend try to stay under 90 grams of carbohydrates a day. You will notice more energy. You won't be as hungry. It takes a lot longer for protein to digest. So carbohydrates have a faster time through the digestive tract, and so it can really cause you to be more hungry. And so try to really prioritize your protein. Or if that's not in meds, I get less cramps when I drink at least 8 ounces of salt water. Yep. So that tells me right there that you probably have a mineral deficiency. And so, just definitely just do it daily. And, again, here in the summer months, we need more water. You just drink it. And then I heard somebody said to me the other day, um, "Well, can't you die if you drink too much water?" And I'm like, "Oh, dear Lord." So people will hear that and use that as an excuse to not drink any water. I mean, drink the freaking water. So, yeah, yeah, I read between the lines. I got it. Yep. Um, I would try to stay under 90 grams of carbs. Um, that's okay. So I usually recommend stay under 90 grams of carbs a day. And those carbohydrates should come from your vegetables. So your green leafies, your broccoli, your what I call free vegetables. So uh, low calorie, high nutrient dense foods. And things like carrots are higher in sugar, so it's gonna be a lot higher in carbohydrates. So, try to avoid things like that. And if you I would just challenge each and every one of you over the next week. So, carbs under 90, protein 100 or 100 plus, depending, that's an average, right? Um, and it's hard to get 100 grams of protein a day. So so here's what I would tell you is it's the easiest thing to do. It is easy. I know it's gonna sound like it's not easy at all. Um, no gluten, no dairy, so no hard cheese, Happy Mac, for 7 days. No gluten, no dairy, carbohydrates under 90 grams a day, and, protein over 100 a day. And you'll start to flush water, you will sleep better, your energy improves. If you have bloating, the bloating starts to go down, so you start to really dump all of that excess water, and then that alone really starts to shuttle the water back into the cells. So you start to go again from that raisin back to a plump grape. Um, so that's where we wanna get you guys back to, is get you back to plump grapes, okay? So think about that. Just keep that visual in your mind. When you're eating or you're drinking something, if you're like, "Oh, wait, Are my cells gonna get shriveled up like a raisin, or are they gonna be plump like a grape? Um, so let's see. I know. Yes. Most people are way over. So it's like it's one oh gosh, I forgot the formula. It's like 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight or something. Anyway, comes out to be about 100 grams of protein, and again, that's average. So if you're, a larger male, if you're weightlifting, if you're a heavy exerciser, you may need more. And it is hard to get too. But when you start to really notice how you're eating, you'll actually see, you'll be like, wow, I'm actually having more of those highly refined carbohydrates than I am protein anyway. So you gotta prioritize protein, not so much the carbohydrates. But again, like I say, you could have a gigantic pile of broccoli, totally fine with that. And all of that too, so, like, I think when I'm done here, I'm, like, craving watermelon right now. So you could get fluid from fruit like that. Now, it's gonna be a little higher in carbohydrates. I was outside working. I did a hot yoga class this morning. I was outside working for, like, 5 hours, like, working heavy, doing a lot of heavy yard work, digging, moving a lot of stuff, and so, I had a lot of sweat going. So I'm going with the fact that I'm craving watermelon for a reason, the hydration plus the nutrients. So if you can stick with, high water content foods, that's also really great. And when we're talking about we need to have a cow. I know, that is the truth, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm all about the cow. Absolutely all about the cow. Um, yeah, so think of, high water content foods. Um, Grapes are high water content. I know we're talking about in the form of your cells. I know they're high water content, but they're really, really high in sugar. So I would try to overall stick with berries and um, then watermelon. So again, try to evaluate your carbohydrates and see which ones you really like. Do you love blueberries? And maybe that's what you're gonna eat every day, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, I love fruit. I have a banana and I have a pineapple. I put a whole banana in my shake every day," and bananas are really high in sugar. They're really high in calories, and, I'm not so much a calorie monger as much as I am a nutrition monger. I really want you to have the right nutrients. And, some people have said, "Well, bananas are healthy for you, though." Right. I mean, bananas are really healthy for you. They're a great food, except for when you have health problems and we have to turn the ship around. I have to get you eliminating certain things in order to get you better. And so I'm gonna look strategically at the things that are high in carbohydrates, especially bananas, high in sugar, um, dog scratching at the door. Okay, just walked away. He wants water. Guarantee you. Give him 30 seconds. He's gonna go back to the door and scratch to go out. Uh, okay. All right, I just threw a lot at you guys. So what questions do you have so far? So dehydration, making sure you're having at least half your body weight in ounces a day. Hang on to that one, Happy Mac. Your body weight in ounces a day. So if you're 200 pounds, you need 100 ounces of water. And you're also evaluating where that water comes from. So it's not going to be fluid in the form of coffee. It's not gonna be fluid in the form of Gatorade. So if you do have coffee or iced tea or anything like that, you have to make up for it because that's going to dehydrate you. That's a diuretic. So you've got to be able to make up for the fluid loss if you have things that cause fluid loss. So just drink more. If you have a glass of wine or a beer or a cocktail, all of that causes more dehydration. So you've got to make up for it. I always say if you're having a drink, a cocktail, a beer, it's it's 1 to 1. 1 drink to 1 glass of water. Like, you really should be flushing that down and, not sitting here saying you should be drinking for your good health, but if you're going to do it, it is going to dehydrate you even more, especially if you're sitting outside, you're sitting by a pool, you're on the lake, on the water or something, you're having cocktails, the alcohol is dehydrating as well as the sun. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Also keeping in mind too, going back to what we talked about with the weight loss and the detoxification, is that your liver our livers struggle. We've got so much going on. Our livers are just struggling. So, be nice to them. Your liver loves, uh, nutrients that are, watercress, cilantro, parsley, just all those really wonderful greens that even the bitter greens, endive, escarole, like all of those are excellent for helping to clear out the liver. So that you'll be doing yourself a favor when you start to increase that. And you're right, fatty liver is awful. Dog wants to go back outside. Now we also have this is interesting that you brought this up, Happy Mac, because there's also a thing called non-alcoholic fatty liver. Have you guys heard of that? So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is caused from all these toxic elements that we talked about, all of the PFAS, the forever chemicals, again, in the air, the water, the food, the plastics, the body care products, it's everywhere. Your candles, your perfumes, the dyes that go onto your clothes that gets absorbed into our skin. PFAS are everywhere. I've done multiple shows on forever chemicals, and those are things that actually cause fatty liver disease. It's a struggle for your liver. So, people say, "Oh, that this person," you've probably heard this. So, they have fatty liver. They're not calling it non-alcoholic fatty liver, but then they'll say, "Oh, they they weren't a drinker." Well, they don't have to be because all the chemicals in the world that are being spewed upon us. Like I'm looking outside right now and it's super sunny, but the sky is white. I mean, there's like major chemicals in the air that fall down upon us and we breathe it. So it's important that you pay attention to, yeah, fatty liver, not drinkers. So it's all of these forever chemicals. Um, I think one of the videos I did, I talked about butter and the process of butter, how a lot of our butter, even if it's made from grass-fed cows, it goes through plastic tubing. Um, Babies in the NICU, they are fed through plastic tubing, and they have higher levels of PFAS. Mothers have, there's over like 200 forever chemicals found in the cord blood of pregnant mothers. So this stuff is in us. And so don't think that, oh, but I eat a clean, I've had that argument too. I eat super healthy, so I don't need to do anything you're saying. No, if you want to stay healthy, you kind of do because it's here, it's in you, it's in us. it's so important that you pay attention to it so that you can continue to mitigate the effects of it. It just gets more compounded, over time, and I know. I know. Yeah. So your family is soda drinkers. Is that what you're saying? The family with the fatty liver? Soda, smoking, um, vaping, all those things. There's no good ending to that. Like, you can't expect good things to come to you. You can't expect to be healthy with unhealthy habits. So, um, how poor do you need to feel? How bad does your health need to get before you just do something? So metabolically, your body is struggling in general every single day. And then those of you who like I said, you may have autoimmune issues, that may have sleep issues, may have mental health issues, anxiety, depression, may just have brain fog, clarity, hormonal issues, sleep issues, chronic pain. Um, all of those things play into what is happening around you and what can you control in your own world. So the food you put in your mouth, movement. I was with some friends last night talking about their cousin, and their cousin, she's very, very sick. I've known her for as long, not as for as long as I've known my friend, but I've known her for a couple of years now. She's usually over there when I go visit my friend, and she's like 62, and she has lived a very hard life, has had a lot of trauma, a lot of emotional trauma. Um, she had a child die, so she's been through quite a lot, but she does nothing to help herself. She's on, oh, dozens, more than, a dozen and a half different medications, heavy, heavy drinker, heavy smoker. So, she's in a world of depression, and yet it's a lot of woe is me. And, you see the writing on the wall for someone like that. They never help themselves. The, especially in the face of trauma. And I'm certainly not going to, I'm not going to I can't even make a comment about losing a child because I don't wanna ever know what that's like. I will never pretend to know that I know what it's like. I would never judge anyone for how they feel or what they do. Well, I guess I kind of am. And it's not so much judgment as much as it's observation, and we can we can handle things a couple of different ways. I've seen people handle pretty traumatic things in their lives, different ways, and, it really comes down to optimism. So you cannot give up your optimism. You have to keep your optimism, and the more optimistic you are, the more, um engaged you'll be with your own life, the more engaged, the more connected you'll be to yourself. And, we all want good connection in this world, and so if we just take these principles and we just implement them just a little bit each and every day, then we can start to feel better. When we feel better, we relate to other people better. This is, and you guys have probably all seen this in different people around you, or even in yourselves. If you've been injured or you're hurt, or even if you're sick, you're on the couch with the flu or something like that, and you feel terrible, and all you want to be is healthy, and you're cranky and you're mad and you're stressed because you're missing out on work or you're missing out on family events. And, that those are like one-offs. Like I say, if you got the flu and you're hanging out on the couch and you can't do anything, and you're like, "Oh my god, I just wanna be better," you really start to value your health. So, when you look at long-term chronic illness where, diabetes, heart disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver, a lot of people are living with that long term, cancers, all of those long-term chronic illnesses, Alzheimer's, y I mean, the list can go on. And if you have people in your life, like you, Happy Mac, with your fatty liver folks, um, those are we should look at things like that as an example of, wow, I never want to be in that place. I never wanna, I never wanna be in the hospital. I was in the hospital about 15 years ago. I had this unrelenting back pain. I came out of nowhere. I don't know what it was. I couldn't get out of pain. Now, for any of you who I'm gonna live. For anybody out there, the 8% of us that have had back pain, um, you know that when you have back pain, back spasms, you can usually get into a position where you get s I could not find any relief. I didn't know what was happening. I ended up, I called my sister-in-law at, like, 5:30 in the morning. I said, I gotta go to the hospital. You gotta take me to the hospital." My daughter was little. I called a friend of mine to come over and watch her, and, and, I couldn't move. I couldn't get in the car. So she called 911. It's so embarrassing. The ambulance pulls up in front of my house. People are like, "What's going on?" I go to the hospital. I end up there for 4 days, and after all the special testing, they kept telling me, they were like, "You just pulled a muscle." And I'm like, "This is not a pulled muscle, like, you know your body." So, hey, Idaho Garden Girl, nice to see you. So, I was there for 4 days, you guys. Now I went in on I think it was a Friday morning, and I was there till Tuesday, the following Tuesday I came out. Well, nobody was around all weekend. I basically sat and rotted in a hospital bed, and I was like, this is how people die, because they get ignored." And then the doctors, the nurses, the PA kept coming in and saying, "Oh, so you pulled a muscle?" I'm like, "I didn't pull a muscle. I don't know what's going on, but I didn't pull a muscle." And so I started demanding, and I'm gonna, give this advice to each and every one of you listening. If you ever have any kind of testing done, MRI, blood work, lab testing, whatever it is, even if you have a portal, you wanna print it off. You want the actual documents. You want the actual test results. You don't want a handwritten letter from your doctor saying everything's fine. That tells you absolutely nothing. So I started demanding that they bring me my test results, CT, MRI, X-rays, all that stuff. Turns out the CT scan revealed that I had 2 very large cysts in my kidney, my left kidney, and I was like, "Oh my god, that explains it." Um, one was, uh, one was 2 by 3, and one was 1 by 3. It's pretty big. Those are pretty big fluid-filled sacs in this tightly woven organ, and I said, "Well, that's what's causing the pain." And the doctor says, "No, no, 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 that's not," 'cause they didn't tell me about the cysts. When the doctor finally came in to consult with me, I said, "Well, what's this? My results say I have 2 kidney cysts." He's like, "Oh, that's nothing." So this is what happens, is if they, people taking care of you, think that it's nothing, they will not tell you. So if you don't have those test results, you will never know. So always get the test results so you can read it. And if you can't read it, take it to your chiropractor, because your chiropractor will know what it means and be able to help you decipher it. So I sat there for 4 days. I then demanded a kidney, it's called a pyelogram. I demanded that they check my kidneys, and they refused to do it because my insurance wouldn't pay for it, and they discharged me. So So there I am, 4 days in a hospital with absolutely nothing. I even had a PA, come in day 3, and she said, "Oh, so you pulled a muscle?" I'm like, "I didn't pull." I'm like, "Oh my god." Cool. They kept trying to shove medications down my throat. I had an agreement with my nurse, and I was, like, I was in so much pain that I needed a walker to get to the bathroom. And I said, "As long as I can get to the bathroom, I don't wanna take medication." She was like, "Great, we have an agreement." Physical therapist came in to work with me 'cause they're like, they're telling everybody I have a pulled muscle. And she yelled at me for not taking the drugs. She was like, "I can't do my job unless you take these muscle relaxers," and I was like, I kicked her out, and I told my nurse to come in, and I go, "Don't you ever let her in here again," and she's like, "I got you." Like, she was so cool. She knew, she's like she knew that it wasn't a pulled muscle either, but these people were, you know, they weren't listening. So then the PA comes in, and I yell at her, I'm like, "No, I didn't pull a muscle." She's like, I'll be right back." She comes back in. But, the problem is that most of the time we don't have people like you advocating for themselves. Most of the time, people are so drugged up and out of it that we're just like, "Hi, Mrs. Jones. How are you doing?" "Okay," and they leave the room. Like, she legit told me that in the freaking hospital. So, you guys, I do this really from a place of I don't want any one of you to end up in the hospital. I don't care if it's for a minor procedure. We just have to stay out. If it's catastrophic, fine. That is where you belong. But for any minor things, you gotta stay out of the hospital 'cause, another fun fact, my dad I always say my dad died of a broken leg. He fell and broke his leg on a Thursday morning. He went to the hospital, and I went from my office. It was an hour to the hospital they took him at. I don't know why they took him that far away. And, I get out there, it's like noon on a Thursday, and the doctor says to me, "Well, I don't know if we can get an orthopedic surgeon in here before the weekend." I'm like, "Before the weekend? It's Thursday morning." He's he was 5 weeks away from his 80th birthday, and he broke his leg. Like, what part of what part of old person with a broken leg doesn't leave the hou like, that statistic is I think it's like 50% of all people over 80 who break a leg will never leave the hou or who break a bone never leave the hospital. It's something crazy like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's a crazy statistic like that. And, yeah, so they didn't do surgery on him till the following Tuesday, and you guys, never left the hospital. Infection after infection, chasing it down, and I firmly believe it's 'cause they let him lay there for 5 days before they did a damn thing. So, I bring all this information, that might be a tangent, but it was just a small tangent to say I'm super passionate about making sure that I help everybody be a little bit better in the choices that they make so that you can just live much better of a life, and that you don't end up in situations like dying from a broken leg, right? Can we all agree on that? I know. It and I don't even know if it's treating them like crap. They just get ignored though, because they don't expect them to have, full capacity, full mental capacity, and to be able to advocate for themselves. Pretty much what the PA admitted to me, right? So, yes, and so you've gotta be proactive, be very proactive. So, many of my patients will say, oh, for example, I'll say, "Have you had your vitamin D tested?" And they'll say, "Oh, yeah, and it's fine." And I'm like, Tell me what fine means." "Well, my doctor said it's fine." "Okay, I don't know what fine isn't a number. Like, give me a number. Where are your levels?" So, when your doctor says your levels are fine, that needs to be defined, right? You need the actual data. So always, always, always get that. And going back to the topic for today, dehydration, inflammation, and detoxification. is that your labs can say a lot about what's going on. So it'll show us nutritional deficiencies, excess in different things. It can show us some levels of dehydration. If your red blood cells are too high, we're going to see dehydration there. If there's not enough fluid, we can see you don't have enough hydrochloric acid to digest your food, which means you're not detoxifying things properly. Your liver enzymes could be off. So if you have lab work, there's a lot of things that we can glean about, again, your dehydration, your inflammation, and your detoxification ability. But your detoxification really needs to, uh, you have to pay attention to that. So, to pick it up on what you're doing for your liver health, for your gut health. Again, say cilantro, watercress, all those greens, the bitter greens. You eat a few of those, a few of those every day, big pile of those every day. I just picked a huge pile of arugula from my garden today. Had a wonderful salad with cucumbers and tomatoes and onions, and a little feta cheese, and some grilled chicken from yesterday. It was great. It was a perfect dinner, and now we have some watermelon for dessert. So, yeah. Um, yes, so true, Happy Mac, for sure. So, did you guys hit that thumbs up button on your way in? I sure did. And let's see, let me go there. We usually have Uncle Alan here telling everybody to hit thumbs up button, some attention. So, yeah, awesome. So it is just about time for my voice to, you know, get a little rested. Uh, it's it's still a struggle. So each day gets a little bit better, but as soon as I get on here, it's like, so listen, next week, yes. Um, let's see. Yes. Uh, Yeah, Ken Somerville from It's All About the Biology. He was on Go Big TV. He's gonna be a special guest here next Sunday. I'm super excited. So, we're gonna talk about soil health and garden health and just all the things that we talk about here. We're gonna dive a little bit deeper into that. And then I have Sina McCullough, Dr. Sina McCullough coming on in a couple of weeks, and she does the Beyond Labels podcast with Joel Salatin, and she is gracious enough to come on here and be my special guest. She even agreed to come on and do a series with me. So I'm super excited. And she is amazing when it comes to food labels and additives and all of that. So I can't wait to dive deep in with her. If you guys have any questions that you want me to ask any of my guests, or you have any ideas, topics, or guests you'd like to see me bring on, shoot me an email. I'll put this in the comments here. Let's see. Okay. So, yeah, okay. So I just dropped my email into the comments. And so, yeah, please, like I say, if there's any guests you'd like to see, any particular topics you want me to cover, um, just just shoot me an email. I would love to hear from you. And any way I can help you, let me know. And Laura, thank you so much. I always appreciate you being here. Really, just I listen, if you guys didn't show up, I'd be here all by myself. So, still trying to build and grow. So please share out my channel and, just steady, slow and steady. Wins the race, right? So I'm so glad that helped Idaho Garden grow. I wanted to bring, I know we talked about hydration and dehydration. We talked about hydration before, but I think it's important for you guys um, to know the whole picture. So, and yes, so tomorrow is Reset Monday, and I did a pre-recorded Reset Monday, but it's talks a little bit about what we talked about today. So I think you guys will like it. So jump over in there. It will get pushed out as a live. Um, just full disclosure, the YouTube numbers like that when I do that. So seem to get a little more engagement. So jump in there. I usually, I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain. It's become much easier for me to get to my office on a Monday morning and not have to it's I gotta open up the office, and so what I was doing, I was going live, and I was having to get to the office, get everything open, get ready for patients, go live. hit the 10 o'clock mark, open the door, start with patients, like, it was a lot. So, I started to pre-record these and push them out live, but then what I do is I get into the office and I'm opening the office and I pull up the live video, and so I don't know if you guys have realized this, but I'm in the chat. I'm with you guys in the chat. So, so my video's going, but because it's live, I'm still able to engage with you, and it's been a it's that's been great. So there's no stress for me to do that because I can be like, D to D to D, go do this, come back, check the chat, answer you guys there, engage with you, go off do something else, make sure everything's ready while the patients come in, making phone calls, texting patients. So it's made my life a little bit easier. So I hope you come in, join in the chat. I will be in there with you, but the video will be pre-recorded. So I think it's kind of cool. That's it's kind of a cool thing that Streamyard lets me do. So, all right, you guys. And then Thursday we're on for Chiropractic is Sexy. Sorry we missed you the last 2 weeks between the holiday, and then I had a special event on Thursday. I was speaking at an event, so I was not able to get there. But we are back on track. Here we go. All right, you guys. Thanks again for being here. And again, if you didn't hit the thumbs up button on the way in, hit it on the way out and share this out. And we'll see you tomorrow, Thursday, and next Sunday for our special guest. All right. Have an amazing week. Talk to you guys soon. Love you so much. Bye.